Sure. What am I doing? Alright, let's close some of these. Hey, Quinn. Hey, Kelsey.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Good now. Thank you.
Alright, so I see you all have found the right link. So, that's good. Hey, Quinn again, because I see you. Hey. Wait, is that like one of the, oh, we don't have a wave action. We have like a clap and a thumbs up. We need like a little wave. Hi, Megan. I want to make sure I don't miss if anybody is having difficulties. Right, so I guess I can tell you we're in the living room today because I set up my bowls out here. So they have like a home instead of just being in there, the like bags all the time. So hopefully it won't be too noisy, but we'll have all of the bowls. So it'll be a plus. Yay, hey Kelly. I'm going to be event too, just so I have that. Just in case. Okay. All right, we have a bunch of people coming. So if you don't already have like your water or whatever you need, feel free to grab that since we're waiting for people. Kelly's got 2 waters. She's prepared.
I always use my leftover water to water my plants.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. I like that.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Shelby.
Hi. I have talked about her today because like 30 minutes ago I was like, I might need a nap. And I don't think I have time for a nap. So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I also didn't want to like fall asleep and then like not hear an alarm or something, you know, and so I figured we'll just caffeine it. Plus, my husband's cooking chicken and he cooks it long and slow and he went to sleep. So somebody has to be awake for the chicken. So checked it, it was doing fine. So we should be good for like another hour and a half. Yeah, welcome to my living room. Hey, Pam. You see my plants? Good. Yeah, so we have an apartment and the leasing office has plants, but they were like dying. And she was like, do you want them? Like, I don't know how to take care of these. And so I have them, and it turns out they're doing really well. They have a lot of new growth, and I'm very happy about them. But it turns out this particular plant, I'll bring it down, is very sensitive to fluoride in the water. And since we have city water, I have to buy water from a plant. And so it's got a lot of new growth right there with that. So proud.
It looks healthy and happy otherwise.
Yeah, it's just he has a lot of brown because the brown is what the fluoride does, and so he's got some.
It could also have just been like sad from the move, you know, a little transplant shock. Not like transplant, but moving.
Yeah. Yeah, like I didn't have to change that. He also needs more dirt. Both of them need more dirt, and they were like falling over, so I had to go grab rocks from the landscaping and like put them in here. So I have to figure out what kind of dirt and soil they need. But yeah, they're doing all right. This one's doing. This one's just going to town.
There's this organic kind that I love. It's called a bumper crop by like coast of Maine. I suspect you can get it there because I was looking it up for Toby. And I think that just like your local garden center, like mine right now will deliver soil. Normally they don't, but right now they might to you.
Nice.
Deliver soil. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. It's called the Plant Shop, and it's in OKC, and I assume they have soil, but they're doing pickups right now, so I can order and get it picked up.
Very cool.
Drive there, yeah. So, thank you, Quinn. Yes, they are like my pets. They're like my little babies. I'm nurturing them back to health. So, apparently, I'm doing okay because I have a lot of new growth. So, yeah. And then I have fake plants. So, Deborah, I like your background.
Thank you. This is from University of Chicago. This is the botany pond behind me. So this is all the quads. I guess they gave like a bunch of Zoom backgrounds from campus. So I'm like, oh, it's spring. It's pretty.
Yeah. Since we can't be outside, we can simulate being outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Okay, let me check back and see if anybody's having troubles or if there's any comments. I think we're still missing Kristen and Alexis. And I think that's it. Let me see who else said they were coming. Charlotte, did you pop on? No, okay. Okay, so we'll give people a couple more minutes just in case. But as we kind of talked about on the mentorship call, we'll dive into, I got dirt in my bowl now, healing toxic mentorship. So whether that was like a coach, a business like mentor, a job mentor, a teacher that you had growing up, like whatever that relationship looked like, we're kind of use that broadly. Ex-husband, sure, yeah, like it's, so we're going to use mentor as somebody who took on that role of guiding you in some way. And sometimes people take on that role without your consent to you in a way, like they kind of take it on as sort of a paternalistic sort of role. So we're going to kind of like use it very broadly in this sense. So under settings, the virtual background looks so cool. But everybody will have to figure out how we change our things. So how is everybody doing? Like, where are you at today? Like, you can tell me where you're at physically, but where are you at, like, emotionally, mentally? You guys can post it in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves. I'm totally open. Pam says she's doing okay.
I'll unmute myself. I guess I'm really sensitive to Mercury transit. So Mercury's is in Aries now, and it's Mercury Day, and I don't feel like my head is encased in cotton and fog. So I feel like I have a lot more mental clarity. But yeah, other than that, doing all right.
Good. Good. I think we're all kind of moving through different things like brain fog. There's Alexis. Brain fog, maybe even body fog. Things like that. Kelsey said she got pretty close to a panic attack last night. So, I mean, I think that, I'm sorry to hear that, Kelsey, but I think that also just fits all the things and like feeling all the things and like that stuff. Megan says she's feeling pretty good this week. Quinn's feeling pretty good.
I'm feeling okay. Normally birthdays are a little bit difficult for me, but yesterday was really like just okay. I missed Oakley, but I dealt with it okay. I feel like I'm doing it okay at like flowing through my emotions and not making unnecessary stories about them, just like letting them surface and go away. And that's good. I do think that this is perfect timing. I'm trying to like just very now direct my attention towards the Mint passage and like creating the content for that in the course. And I'm noticing a lot of imposter syndrome and spinning out and old stories. So excited to release some of that baggage to move forward.
Yeah. I mean, if it's like exactly what we're doing. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself for a second if somebody else wants. Okay, there's just a siren going by. Alexis is in rest mode. Lori's feeling good, ready to release toxic work narratives. Excited for her workshop today, yes. So I'll give a moment to yeah. Be excited. All right. Yeah. Little clappies. Yay! All right. Okay. I think Kristen and Charlotte are the only ones who aren't here, but they can hop on at any point, or they can catch the replay. So is everybody ready then? Okay, Anna said, okay, nervous damage in your head makes life challenging sometimes. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's difficult. Is that from okay. I don't remember what it was called.
So it was much better right after the disc replacement, but then I had to have anesthesia again like 3 weeks ago, and it screwed things up again. So now I don't have feeling on these 3 fingers.
Oh.
And sometimes the nerve wakes up, and when it does, it really hurts.
My dad fishes, and when we're off the coast fishing, you sometimes catch stingrays. So he got hit by a stingray in his wrist, and so it cut the nerve there, and so like he had trouble with that for a while too. But the nerve does grow back. So
yeah, the neurologist that I go to said it's like I don't know, like a millimeter a month or something crazy like that. It's really incremental. He said it could take 18 months for it to grow back if it grows back.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely takes a little bit of time. But good thing right now it's kind of like off, so like you aren't feeling that pain, it sounds like. So
Off and on. It comes back, it goes off and on.
probably at the worst times too, right? Oh, so Alexis said there's ways to help with that. So Alexis is our resident I don't know. You're like shifting. So you're just our resident doctor healer.
Resident something. Yeah, I like that.
So does everybody have their water, their comfy stuff, their pet snuggles? If that's the thing you want. So, and thank you, Pam. Yes, we are releasing old mentorship type things. So like broadly, we're looking at like mentorship as people who took on that sort of role in your life. So it could be business mentor, a career mentor, a teacher you had in school, a college professor, a family friend, a partner, anybody who kind of took on that role in your life. So we've sort of broadened it out because there's so many different ways that I think we pick those things up. Even like unconsciously, sometimes we look at people as mentors. So just like all of those things. Okay. Okay, awesome. So Megan, if you want to go ahead and move so you're comfortable, everybody can go ahead and get comfortable. I have to get off my legs so it's not asleep. You do not need to have one in mind while we're releasing. We're kind of going to like generally release. We may, so usually as I do these, they kind of unfold in their own way. But what will probably happen is the general idea is to kind of like look at chords and release chords, and kind of realign with like a healthier seated pattern. Yeah. Realign some of the mentorship things so that way we are no longer congruent or whatever with some of the toxic mentorship. We're going to be like releasing those cords and realigning ourselves. And so you may, as you're releasing the cords, know who that is from. You may focus on that person or that situation. Like things may kind of come up in that way, but you don't need to have one specifically in mind. It'll sort of, the idea is it'll naturally unfold for you. So, yay! I'm so glad people are excited. So, go ahead and get comfortable. There will be a replay. I will, like usual, get it into the group, and then Ardelia will get it onto the dashboard when she has space for that. So, go ahead and get comfortable. And I have a sneeze, so I'll mute myself for a second. So, if you missed it, I have all of the bowls out today. I don't know if we can see all of them without like, too out of an angle, but I do have all of them out. So we have all 7 plus the little middle one that people seem to really like, or that seems to really do stuff for everybody. So we have them as well. So you have an idea of which ones are which. This is the root bowl. It is a C note, if I remember correctly. And then this is the sacral. This is the solar. So it goes C, D, E. And then next we have the heart. That is F. throat is the G note, and then we start over with A for the third eye. And lastly, B for the crown. So you may notice a certain note resonating with you at different times. Just take note of that. Like, you don't really have to be aware of it. We'll go over it at the end too. Then we also have an additional C note in the metal bowl. So you'll notice it has more of that ting, kind of like brassy sound to it. I think that's what it is. But so yeah, yay! All right. So just take note. But as we go through this, obviously you will be taking note of other things as well. So just relax as much as possible. The Reiki will be flowing, and then because I'm also training in the expansion principle, you'll probably get some EP energy as well. And then you might get some Lemurian energy coming up too. So go ahead and relax. If you haven't already done so, close your eyes. Relax into your space. Feel yourself sinking into the pillows, the chair, whatever it may be. You're just gonna take a moment to breathe, decompress. So focus on your breath, the rise and fall of your chest and your belly. Making sure that you're breathing as deeply and as comfortably as possible. You can begin lengthening your breath. Lengthening your inhale and exhale. Holding in between each for a moment. In a very comfortable and natural way. We're not here to scare your nervous system into fight or flight, so just breathe comfortably. Hold your breath as long as it's comfortable. Exhale and inhale as long as it's comfortable. Feel your body relax further and further. And from here, we're going to travel within ourselves. So we're going to drop into that space that you connect with the most, be it your heart, your solar, your sacral, your mind. Maybe it's your third eye, whatever it is. Find that connection to your deepest part of your soul. Allow the connection to unfold around you, or for yourself to sink deeper into it. And allow the space to begin revealing itself to you. That might be through a knowing, a seeing, a hearing, a feeling. You may see the chords that we had discussed. You may see pictures or images. You may see colors or vague shapes. As you turn your awareness around the space, you may feel different things from different directions. You just take note, take inventory of these things. And all of this is in line with those mentorship-like relationships or experiences that we've had. The ones that were not actually in our service. The ones that we may consider toxic or just unhelpful. They may have even been abusive or harmful, hurtful. Note that all of the good ones are in there too. We're just focusing for the moment on these ones that are going to be released. And it might be that some of the neutral ones or some of the ones that you would consider positive are going to be released as well. And that is okay. And know that all of the space that you are creating and that we are creating together is in your highest good and create space for even better relationships, even better experiences, even better knowledge. Some of these things may be bringing up discomfort, pain, sadness, grief. That is okay. Allow those emotions to move through you. They are a part of you, but they are not this core piece of you. So take a couple deep breaths. Allow the Reiki and the energy to flow through you, to support you. Allow it to soften the emotions and the feelings if that's what you need. All right. And then when you are ready, I'm going to begin releasing. If you are not ready, or if there's certain ones that you are maybe not ready to release, that is okay. You can give yourself space after this and then come back to it. Sometimes things are a process and it's not a one and done. Right. Take a big inhale, and on your exhale, we are releasing. You are seeing cords. They are being removed from you. If you aren't familiar with how I do it, I don't cut cords. We remove it from the root. We remove it from the seed of its attachment to you. So you might feel some twinges, things like that. If you are seeing photos or images, you can collect them all together. And what I'm seeing is like sending them out on a boat, like kind of like a funeral pyre. You're letting them go out, and the fire and the water are transforming them. Sort of like the temperance card from the Wild Unknown. It has the fire and water with the crane. It may take a moment to get through all of the cords or all of the things to be released in whatever way you are releasing them. Just breathe through the process. Allow the Reiki, the EP, the Lemurian energy to move through you, assisting you. You are in total control of this process. The energy is just there to support you. And so these spaces where the cords were removed from, the photos or images previously took up space, they are now empty. And we're going to fill them up with the Reiki, with the EP, with the Lemurian energy, so that it's like packing a wound. Right? The energy integrates and becomes your energy. And what it does is it just holds the space so that it makes it more difficult for things to reattach, and so that we have some control over what is filling the space. We just left it open. It is quite possible that things would come in to fill that space. Other energy would fill it. And so we just want to preemptively allow these nourishing energies to fill those spaces, to facilitate the healing of those spaces. If these connections that you released, these behaviors and patterns that they were associated with, have connections to your body, you may feel some soreness in those spaces later. You might be feeling it now. You may be feeling warmth or tingles or other things in those spaces as well. That is okay. Just take note. And with this process, if there's anything that you are looking to include, let's say maybe you have your own energy work modality that you use, or your own energies that you connect into. Maybe there's words or feelings that you would like to include. You have the authority and the sovereignty to add those to your energy. This is where you can draw upon those positive mentorship type experiences, be it with a business mentor, a parent, somebody who is a family friend, somebody who's older than you, or maybe your same age or younger, who has taken sort of this mentorship role in your life. You can draw on those experiences and the energy of those experiences and use it to fertilize your energy in these spaces, sort of pre-programming the energy and the healing. If you need to come back to your breath, come back to your breath. Focus on the comfortability of your breathing, the relaxed breathing. And give yourself this moment to allow all of the integrating. We will be realigning and shifting here in a moment. So give yourself the space just to integrate, to feel, to notice. So just be aware, be present. And so what this realigning is looking like for me, but it may look different for you, is just it's like readjusting to your true north. So it looks like a compass, and what you're doing is you're shifting your energetic alignment to that quote unquote true north for you. So this is the mentorship, the guidance, the facilitation that happens through you, that you give to the world, that you are in service to. And it's realigning that, or just double checking that it is aligned with your true north, with your truth, with your highest good, with the highest good of all, as much as possible. Maybe even with your soul blueprint or your originating energy signature. You are probably being given guidance on what this is for you. And if not in this moment, you have been and you will continue to receive guidance as to what it is for you. And in a way, this is also realigning with your sovereignty, so that now that those old patterns, those toxic mentorship blueprints that you've received, all of those things are released. They are no longer clouding, they are no longer holding on to your energy. And so now you can move freely from them, make decisions freely from them, act freely from them. And again, if you have to come back and do this, then it's okay. Just know that the energy is still there, still guiding you. Take a moment to breathe. We'll be coming back shortly, so if there's anything else that you need to know, you need to experience, you need to feel, allow that to come through. Any other messages, what have you. feel your body. Begin noticing the rise and fall of your chest and your belly. Begin noticing the need to maybe stretch your legs, wiggle your toes and your fingers, rotating your shoulders. Just bringing yourself back to the sensations of having a physical body. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes, drink some water, whatever you've got. Give yourself that space. It is totally okay to come back as slow as you would like. And then we will discuss. I'm gonna stretch my legs. And like I said, I will go through the bowls one more time. I'm gonna give everybody a second. That way, if there was one that resonated the most with you, you have an idea of where it corresponds with. Yay! Okay. So again, I'm gonna start with the root and we'll move to the crown and then we'll come back around to the root. This is the root chakra bowl. Long and low. We have the sacral. The solar. The heart. And that may sound a little different than the pink heart that you're used to. They're just different octaves. The throat. The third eye. There you go, the crown. So we've got the little root again. Right. So of course, as always, you're welcome to share. You do not have to. You can take time to integrate and then share later in the group. But now, the floor is open to all you. So, anybody want to share? Go first.
I'll go first since I have to leave in a moment. My sister FaceTimed me right when it was getting good, so I got a little distracted because then the feed stopped because it came through my iPad. But before that, I saw an image of like a boot walking away from me. That was at the point where then it felt like more was going to come, but then sister things happened. But yeah, I could feel it, and I appreciate you giving the option of not just going to heart space, because I haven't tried going anywhere else, and my third eye took over right away, so I was surprised by that, because I'd always as in like the past few months I've been trying to do energy work, I've just gone to my heart space thinking that was the right thing to do, so it was just interesting to try something else.
Yeah, I mean, and that's...
So yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. That's totally why I try to give you the option.
And I will be...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the internet cut out. But yeah, I thank you for your time, everyone, and I will do this again later. Bye.
Okay. Who else wants to go? And did anyone else tap in somewhere other than your heart? Or I'd love to hear that. Okay.
Well, thank you, Shelby. I tapped into my sacral. I pulled some cards earlier and asked what my business needs and my yin gateway offer and me. And it was, again, that card that was like the art of seduction. So I have been trying to tap more into my sacral and my sexuality and like using the sexual energy to light my business up and light me up, and instead of just like channeling it that somewhere else. So that's what I've been playing with. I always get like images of the volcano when I'm burning quartz because I like to incinerate them. This time I was also on the Green Sands beach in Hawaii, so that was cool. There was like an encasing of like booger cords around me that like grew harder and thickened. Yeah, super toxic, super nasty. But then I like peeled out of it like a cocoon, like in the good place. And then yeah, afterwards I did notice the shift in like a lot of the fire energy coming back. And I felt like out of all my cords, I only kept like 5 out of like, I don't know, 80 or something. I don't really have numbers, but yeah, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, I don't know if you're like me, but like sometimes when like it just gets past a certain number, it's like, I don't know, it's like an estimated amount. You're like, whatever, but they're.
Yeah, I don't usually see them either, but this time I totally felt like there were all these different visuals for them. Like I saw a big red one, I saw some like clunky black chunky stuff, I saw like a brown mist, and then also the same color of the green sands. Like there were those weird cords, and then they also came out of my heart, like grew, and that's when like the booger crust grew. So it felt like so much toxic stuff coming out. Felt like it was very effective, and it was really cool to experience the 3+ modalities.
Yeah.
EP, Lemurian, and the Reiki, and then plus whatever else is just in this space. So that was really awesome. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, Quinn, I saw a hand.
Yay. This one was really interesting. I noticed a few key things where I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm noticing this. I'm going to end up talking about this. The first thing I noticed was right at the very beginning of the Reiki session, I started to notice that I was seeing, first I noticed that I was getting guided to my sacral chakra, which was very different for me because it's exactly what Kelly said. It's different for me. It's just not usually a chakra that I often have any issues with or have a particular, like, oh, I'm going to connect to my sacral today, like kind of relationship with. It tends to be more my heart and my solar plexus that I really experience things. So that tends to be where I focus my attention. But for some reason, I felt guided to go to the sacral. And then I heard the word mother wound in my head. And I kind of just took that as insight into why I was guided to the sacral for this particular clearing. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And like kind of surrendered to it. And then I started to notice that there were these like, how do I explain them? Almost like tentacles growing. So like, it's like I'm seeing the inside of my body, and in the sacral region of my body, there's like these like dangling, they're not connected to another person, which I noticed. It's almost like cords, but they're not connected to anything. They're just dangling in my sacral region and like in my body. And I could just see these like little dangly kind of cord thing. They were not pretty. And I was like, ew. And I just noticed those and kind of just had this inner knowing, like, okay, this is where I need to be focusing the healing attention. Like I'm seeing this for a reason. And I could very easily like see this image of like this light that was, I don't even know why I started to envision this, but I just started to feel like a light. Well, it makes sense with Reiki, I guess, but this light coming from my crown and clearing all those tendrils and all those weird tentacle things. And I could actually see them like disintegrating and leaving. And I was like, oh, that feels good. And then at one point, it was really interesting. At the point where you guided us to put pictures of the things we were releasing and burn them, for some reason, my brain was like, no, we're not going to visualize that. And I wanted to, and I tried to, but for some reason, what I ended up seeing instead was this black cage that looked almost like a rib cage, but it was a cage around my heart. So it was like I could see my heart area of my body, and there was just like this black cage, and I couldn't get my attention away from that to like think about the pictures on the pyre. So I just like let the pictures on the pyre go, focusing on this weird cage that for some reason I'm seeing. And it was weird. It was like black, and it didn't look friendly, and it clearly wasn't mine. Like it was very much like something was like, it was like my heart was being held prisoner by this cage. So I set the intention that the Reiki would help to clear that cage, and I watched it start to disintegrate and clear. And then I noticed that as it was starting to clear, my attention just started going everywhere. Like I was like in my head, and then I was down below, and like it just started dancing everywhere. And I just kind of breathed through it and rolled with it. But I felt like I actually cleared something, and my energy kind of had to calibrate again, because it was like a huge clearing. Or at least, that clearing is put into motion. And then there was one more powerful thing I noticed. At one point in the session, I saw the one particular mentor's face, not the other one for some reason. The very first one, I felt almost nothing. Like I was just kind of like, maybe we're more over that than I thought. There were like some elements of it that got into the mix, but I'm more over it than I realized. However, the second one, I've come far, but I did see her face, and she made eye contact with me. And in that moment, I got like dizzy. Like I felt like everything was shaking, and it kind of felt like ocean waves inside of me were like crashing. It was a lot of unrest. As soon as she made eye contact with me, it was just like havoc on the inside. And that was shortly before the cage experience. So I was able to, just kind of flow through that, feel what needed to be felt, went through the cage experience, started to cleanse that. But I think that's all the noteworthy experiences, but this one there were a lot of visuals. I felt very connected to this particular Reiki session, and I'm really surprised by what I experienced. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad it gave you some affirmation that like you feel some things more than you had thought.
Yeah.
Really like Kelly's comment, despite all my appendages, I'm still just a queen in a cage.
Oh my God, I love that actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like
appendages.
Yeah.
Appendages. I like that word. Sorry. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I mean, sometimes things are connected, sometimes things aren't, and sometimes cages have, like you said, it wasn't yours, and so it sounds like it was from outside of you. But sometimes I also want to note, just to everybody else, sometimes those things are created within ourselves to protect, so they need to be released in that way. But it sounds like for you it was not that case.
It felt like something that I had consented to allow to be there, and that's why it was there, but I wasn't the original creator of the cage, if that makes sense. It was like, I know I had a role in it being there.
It reminds me of like, I don't know if you've seen Futurama and the doctor, and he's got his like whisker things, and they're like little sensors. So it's almost like your sacral is like feeling out things, but then somebody put like a little cage around your heart, not letting you be your expansive feeler self or something. And I feel like there's some weird connection between them. I don't know, but.
No, that is really interesting. You got my brain thinking there, because those appendagey things, I never thought of them as feelers. I just kind of thought of them as like unconnected cords that I was still holding on to, but the other person had released. But I really like that insight, because I don't know, there's something there about how about them being kind of connected to feeling. And then it is interesting that the heart, which is such a feeling center, is also simultaneously caged, almost like energetically just not allowed to, like you said, expand and feel and really experience things the way that I, Quinn, firsthand experienced them. Almost like there was, it did feel like there was sort of like a system that was stifling my own ability to intuitively feel, if that makes sense. Like my intuition's always there, I'm always connected to it, but it felt like it has felt for a while, but this really brought it to my attention that there's something obstructing it too. And it's not entirely mine, even though I have consented it, to it being there. on some level. That's fun. Thank you.
For like everybody else, sometimes these things happen without our consent too. So like, don't feel like
That's so
like put.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. It's fine. I just don't want people to feel like there's onus on them when there might not be. So I don't want anybody to put that kind of pressure on themselves. So that might be it.
Yeah. To not get into that, blame the victim sort of mentality. But I like what, I got excited by what Alexis was saying, where we have physical appendages on the outside of our large intestine, because that would be in the sacral region. I find that really interesting. And because what I didn't share was that these appendages had feelers on the end of them. They had like what looked like taste buds. They were really ugly on the outside of it. So that's why feeler actually made me go, because they had something on the outside that would indicate that they're used to feel. And then it also kind of sounds like what Alexis is describing with what we have physically on the outside of our intestines. So that's really interesting too.
No, that is interesting. Yeah, and even inside the intestines, we have little pili that move things. And
maybe it hasn't been safe for you to feel the full extent of your ability, and that's why there's some, safety lock and key that has been enclosed around the other feeling part of you, because maybe you just have such a expansive feeling ability that maybe there like needs to be more solid boundaries that you need to develop before you can really tap into the full expansiveness of your ability to feel all the things.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And it also got me excited because it made me realize something that was common among the two mentors' toxic mentorship experiences. And that was that, especially the second one, had this, they didn't want me to grow into my potential. It was very obvious. Like, it's not even just speculation. They felt threatened when I would come into my power, and then they'd knock me down. And that was done consistently every time I would rise and become more intuitively confident. This isn't even speculation. They were worried about it, threatening their own authority. And it would be very intentional, very bullying. Like, it's not even subtle to knock me down. So sometimes that got me thinking of that. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Because it was like this cage was stopping me from feeling, which is my intuitive sense. Like, that's my dominant intuitive gift, is my clair empathy, my sentience, my feeling. So yeah, this is actually, thank you for everything you guys are adding, because it's really bringing a lot of more potent meaning to what I saw. I'm really seeing some significance, especially with the whole cage thing. It actually makes a lot of sense. Ooh, Anna says, I'm feeling that Quinn saw mentors, but also my mom when you said that. It's funny because my mom came up too in this too. I didn't share that, but there were just glimpses here and there, nothing crazy significant, but that there's definitely a mother wound somehow interwoven into all of this. That's for sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for helping me to see some different angles and look into this a little deeper, because it was a very insightful session.
Good.
And yes, the mother wound does sit around the sacral, which I think is really interesting too, because I wasn't counting on going in that direction, on focusing on the sacral. That's just where I was guided. So yeah, for sure.
No, and that makes sense. And that, that's also like our belly buttons are like pretty close to there too. And that's our umbilical cord, right? And that's where we are physically connected to
our mothers. Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find a gender neutral term of our carriers, but that sounded weird. I
just realized something with the belly button. So every time you guys say something, it's like triggering more stuff. But
yeah.
With the second mentor, we did an exercise because it was at an in-person retreat that I worked with. So we did an exercise where we actually put our thumbs in our belly buttons to like trigger that place, and make eye contact with one another and share what would just honestly come up. It was just to exercise speaking from the sacral, I'm assuming, and just kind of getting into that feminine and expressing from there. And we actually had an altercation where what came out of my mouth, honestly, in that retreat, I was having problems with this mentor. So what came out of my mouth was, I'm thinking of getting on a plane and going home tomorrow. And I was in Bali, and it created a whole thing. She got angry at me. She'd been on this whole like rant about how she's never had a retreat before where she had to worry about people leaving in the middle of the retreat. And, you know, if any of us even so dare to go in that direction, she'll be so mad and she'll never talk to us. And like, it turned into this whole thing during a belly button triggering exercise. Like it all just exploded from that exercise. So I'm literally being put in like a trauma stimulating position to do clearing and healing work. And then she takes advantage of what I've said in that really vulnerable place and shames me while I'm touching my belly button. Like, you know, like while I'm triggering the trauma spot or the sensitive spot. Blame, shame, anger for me sharing what was vulnerably and honestly on my mind. So yeah, that would have planted some wounding in that moment. And I was in the perfect vulnerable belly button poking spot where that wound to just go right there, you know, like it was just so vulnerable, so taken advantage of. I can actually see why the sacral region was a huge focal point today. I think there was a lot to be cleared there. Trauma, that's exactly what my friend said when I told her about the retreat.
There's an energy medicine exercise where you put your middle finger in your belly button and your other middle finger on your forehead, and then you breathe until you feel like it all connects. And I can't do that one, but I'm adopted, so I have like adoption trauma on top of an abusive adoptive mother and foster care and crap like that. But like every time people want you to do that, I'm like, nope, sorry, can't do it.
Out of here. Well, I didn't realize how triggering just that sensation is. Just the touching of the belly, you know, just touching those pressure points already is so stimulating. And to then be attacked while you're in that vulnerable position feels really awful. So I can totally understand where you're coming from, Anna, on just being like, no, like I don't want to do it, because it is really like I can't touch my own belly button. I've always been that way, even before this exercise. So I was like it's not even, it's uncomfortable. But I just want to touch on what Deborah said about trauma bonding, because that's literally what my best friend said when I told her about the retreat. She's like, it sounds like a big trauma bonding experience. And it's exactly what it was. And yeah, it just feels really good to just see it for what it was and let it go, so I can be free of it, you know, and like on to the next chapter. Yeah. You, Kelly. I just saw sorry. I'm noticing comments, and I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time, but I noticed the cult comment too, and I'm like, yeah, that was it was a lot of cult mentality that day, or those 10 days. But yeah, time to let it go.
Yeah, and you have a lot that you can speak on now with like patterns that are in the communities, that people who are empathic and intuitive business owners might be feeling and experience.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate just holding the space and everything that you added to the conversation. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I guess I say that for everybody, because everybody's on mute. So are you feeling good, Quinn?
I am. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And I will post the chat again. Just FYI, if you guys send private messages to each other in the chat, I believe it does come up in the chat record. So just FYI, I don't think anybody's saying anything mean or rude, but like if there's something personal that you sent to somebody else, just FYI. So let's see, who wants to go next?
I will, because what Quinn went through, similar. I feel like I was doing work before this session today. So this weekend, I think I brought up in group before, like being on Twitter and being a part of what I felt was a toxic community, and it had been pretty cool for years. But I think one thing I'm noticing is that there are a lot of people who are very much into like knowing about the data and like how to do things properly, but they kind of leave people out and kindness and empathy. And so there's just a lot of just like, well, especially as the esoteric becomes more popular, like part of it, I get there needs to be some gatekeeping, but a lot of it, I can even see like internal strife over nothing. And I don't really identify with any of the modalities I do. Like I'm myself outside of astrology or tarot or whatever, especially because I have a background of being involved in the evangelical church. I'm like, I'm not going to be dogmatic about anything. Like 5 years from now, I don't know what I'm going to be into, but it'll be part of my spiritual evolution. So I did, like on Twitter, there's something called a soft block or a force and follow, where you block and unblock someone. So I did that for like 40 people that I just felt like were a part of this thing. And because I was just getting sick of just muting them and then still seeing them come on my timeline. And I was just time to move on. Like the group has evolved. It's just not what I need. So usually when you do that sort of stuff, people don't care. Like people just move on. And like for me, I didn't feel any sort of connection with these people. I'm not talking to them. So I guess it was Monday. This person I thought was like a mentor type, like came into my DMs, was like, oh, like what happened? Because sometimes Twitter will unfollow people without you asking, and I'm like, no, that was by design. I did that on purpose, and I explained why. I just feel like this group gets hyper reactive, like they will dogpile on people and just shame them, and they're all professionals. A lot of these people are professionals and offer services, and I can't think of any other field that would be that well unprofessional. And just because it's social media doesn't mean like people aren't watching and seeing what you're doing anyway. So, and this person, like, he is known to do that. Of course, he has his mind of like, I'm trying to teach people a lesson or whatever. So like engaging trolls, I'm just like, that is just a waste of time to me. If we're not mutually learning and growing together, I'm not going to argue. Like it's just, life is too short. So what was interesting was like he made it about him. He didn't make it about like what I experienced, what I saw, how I was upset about it, why I needed to disengage. And like something that he said was like, well, I couldn't imagine that Deborah would, unfollow me because she's been one of my staunchest supporters of my work. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that is a weird phrasing. Like, I thought we were friends. I'm not a fan. I'm not just a fan. I'm not just some rando. Like, we've known each other for years. I was like really insulted. It kind of confirmed that this person I thought was a mentor actually wasn't. He didn't see me that way, or if he did, he doesn't see me that way anymore. He was only concerned about how it made him look, and that's it. Not the damage that he's doing to the community. Because I said, someone I met in town has the same issue, and they're much younger than me, and they felt excluded. They felt like it was a super insular community that isn't welcoming, that's unkind, that's cruel. And then he just left it at like, he tried to understand, but he's like, okay, thank you. And that was it. So I'm just, so that was a couple of days ago. So during the session, I've been imagining like pushing him out to sea, like as far as I can, just like far, far until I can't see him. But in the session, I just saw like roots of chords like kind of being blown away as the Reiki was flowing. So that was cool. But I just feel like that this week has been tough trying to recover from that, because this has been to me like, okay, this is another community I've tried to be a part of ever since leaving the church, and it's kind of failed again. Like the one before that was grad school, and having an advisor backstab me, and I had to like pause my defense of like a semester, which cost me a lot of money. So and she came up too, of course, because I hadn't thought about her in a while, but I was like, okay, yeah, mentor type, but she really wasn't a mentor. I've had these like mentor types that are in the role, but they don't perform it. And I think that goes all the way back to my parents too. They're like in roles and they're underperforming or not performing, and then I end up like having to do all the work. So I think that's something I think I need to continue to work through. But at least I feel so much better disentangling from that community, because it was just, I was like, this is just getting worse. I don't see it getting better. I don't feel like it's my job to make it better. I'm not being seen. I'm being excluded. Like, I get it. But for someone who's been in there and couldn't reflect on what I was saying, I was like, I wanted to be like, this confirms to me that we should, I don't think I should at least be following you on Twitter, because it's, if you're just I mean, the one thing he did say was like, yes, I know that I've been called argumentative, but it goes beyond that to me. Like, it's, at the end of the day, all of this is about people, whether we're online, offline, and I think a lot of people forget that, and they just, a lot of this is for clout or for getting followers, or I don't know. Like, I've never approached the internet that way. It's always been like, how can I connect with people I wouldn't usually connect with? That's what's important to me. So when I talk to people, I think about that. I think about that my words have power, and I'm not going to dogpile on someone just because I don't necessarily agree with them, or usually like colleagues or just people who are trying to learn astrology or tarot or whatever. And it's just been so distasteful to see this kind of devolve, and it's sad. So there is a bit of mourning, but I think I've done a bunch of mourning this year already. So by the time I had that conversation on Monday, I was just like, yep, I'm not a part of this anymore. So yeah, I mean, beyond that, Reiki again always makes me sleepy. So my brain I think my brain needs to shut off. So Reiki's like, okay, good night. I'm gonna do all the work. So I don't usually have like deep like visions or anything. It's like my brain has to like shut down. So it's just nap time, which I need. So I know that other work was done, but I don't necessarily need to know what it was. So that was my experience.
Yay. Yeah, and no, like I guess this goes for everybody. Like whether you see things or you experience things or not, it's really just for your benefit. And so sometimes it's better to take a nap and let the energy do the heavy working itself. And like I am good right now, but I'll tell you in like 20 minutes when we get off the call, I will be taking a nap. So so it's not just you. Like energy work is big work. And you guys did like basically an operation because we were removing things from your energy. So expect that you will probably be tired. You probably will need some space afterwards, whether or not you typically do or not. So, but yeah, it sounds like I'm glad you've kind of left that community. It sounds like it was definitely harmful. Sorry you experienced that, but I'm glad you were able to share it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. How do you feel now? I just want to check in with you before.
Oh, I feel good. I
feel good? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Okay, good. I want everybody, I know like we're sharing a lot of deep, hard stuff, but I want us to leave feeling like we've left it behind. You're able to move forward, or at least you're able to come back to this and do it again. So I know Kelsey had raised her hand. Kelsey, did you still want to go? Okay.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Thank you.
So I wasn't going to share because I was like, I'm definitely still integrating. But I keep feeling all these feels, and this conversation is bringing, like all of these conversations are bringing up so much, and it's crazy. Like throughout the duration, I feel like a build up, like a concentration of energy, dense, thick energy. And then it's like, poof, it's just like this dispersion of it. And then I feel the build up again and then dispersion of it. I'm like, that's an interesting feeling. So I'm just I don't even know if I can share in any sort of order. So I'm just going to kind of pluck what comes to mind at first, what comes to heart or energy. But yeah, one thing that I so appreciated, and this will change everything for me moving forward, and it's so simple but so powerful, is when you said, and I know Alexis talks about this too, so it might be an EP thing, but that we don't cut cords, because that's what I was taught, cut cords, right? And I've done that practice, and sometimes it's very helpful, and other times it's like you cut them and then they're like, they go back together, like just immediately. Quinn gets it. Yeah, I see you getting it. And it does that for me too. And reattachment happens so fucking fast with things that like immediately. It's like, okay, I removed the thing and it's like a magnetic thing. It comes back. You can't just cut it off. You can't just, just like take it and put it somewhere else. It's like it reattaches real fast. So when you said that we aren't cutting cords, we're taking them from the root and at the seed of it. Because again, the whole seed thing, I know I recognize from Alexis what she talks about, but and then the big powerful thing for me too was I don't even remember the word that you used, but like filling that energy with, you said packing the wound, which like was pivotal for me, because we're not just creating an empty space, right? Because that's how that cord wants to go back in. It's still like magnetized. It's still at the same frequency. The cord was in, or the root of the cord, and yeah, that made a big difference for me. I could physically feel that. I see comments popping up and people wanting to say stuff. Hang on, I want to make space for you guys too. Yeah. Why they need to be unrooted, Pam. Yeah, same, Quinn. Exactly, same here. I was like, I'm not doing this right, or like something's wrong with me, like something's wrong with my psyche, or I'm broken, or I'm just like self-sabotaging. Megan says, I've been taught the cord cutting too. I imagine them dissolving this time, which is helpful. Yeah, that will be. I'm going to use that too. Kelly says, I think that's why I sit in the volcano hot tub. Yes, the hot kiln. Wound packing. But yeah, that was really big for me. And then throughout the exercise, I was like, this is painful. This is really fucking uncomfortable for some pieces of it. Because these things took root in some really deep places. And when these like toxic mentorship things happen, or these traumas or mini traumas, they hit different traumas within me, right? So it's like hitting a nerve into like different places of you. So they take root almost more deeply, even if it wasn't like the deepest trauma you've ever had, if that makes sense. And so that was big. I actually found that I had to open my eyes a few times throughout the exercise, but I was still very much in it, which was cool. It's just like I had to take it was like it was bringing me back to those places, and it's like, oh my God, this is like crystallizing here, or like cementing. I'm gonna get stuck here. So I just had to open my eyes and bring myself back to this space and the peace in this space, which was really helpful. And yeah, some insights that I got from one particular toxic mentorship experience, so much actually, that I didn't realize while I was in it. I knew it didn't feel good, but I always thought it was wrong with something was wrong with me. I took responsibility for everything, right? Like I'm broken, or it's not working because I'm not working, or like all of that shit. But this particular mentor, and it always messes with me when they're not bad people. And I know there's no black and white, there's no good or bad. But it's like when there are so many admirable qualities about these people, if something about them doesn't land with me right, I always think, well, that's my thing. Maybe I'm judging them, or like, or something's wrong with me, that I'm not receiving their coaching properly or their mentorship, when really it's toxic shit that they're spouting out at you, even though there's a lot of good things about them too. So that has messed with me for a very long time. That goes way back from early traumas as well.
Yeah, do you mind if I jump in there for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to say that's not necessarily a bad intuition to have, because a lot of people don't check themselves. And so I want to say, like, it's good that you are being reflective and you're like, what is going on here, right? Is this me? I think the other piece that you're integrating is like, is it them? Is it something in this combined space, right? Kind of removing some of the blame from yourself. But I think I just want to highlight for everybody that, like, I saw a lot of nods. It is not necessarily bad to ask, is it me? Because we do pick up a lot of programming in society. And so it is a good place to be like, oh, is this my bias? Like, is this my shit? You know, but at the same time, exactly as Kyle was talking about, like making sure that we are also being like, okay, is this something in our combined space? Is it the way we integrate together? Or is this their bias and their shit that's coming through too? Because we are, it is, to go back to what you're saying about, like, they're like, on the whole, they seem to be like good people, right? But then they have this thing going on. It's a pattern that's been passed down, right? And so we pick these things up, people pick these things up without knowing it, right? And so what you guys did today, and I want to reaffirm this, is that you are disturbing that pattern, that lineage of toxicity.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I like the way you put that. Mm-hmm. That whole lineage. But yeah, with that, because that's what I've done all my life, throughout abuse and like gaslighting, like nothing else, everywhere from so many angles, it really messes with you. So the first thing that I've always done is found out, like, I have a very sharp self-awareness, but also so much so that I will always find a way to twist it into myself being a problem. So with that, I have to be very careful with that, because my first thought always is like, where am I going wrong here? What am I seeing wrong? What can I fix about myself? So much so that I stifle myself and I like suffocate myself and my truth and what's really happening to like allow abuse, or my excuses for abuse and stuff like that. So that's a really deep one for me. Being introspective is very helpful, and it is hugely mature thing to do, to be able to just backing what you're saying, that it's important to check ourselves too. But that has gotten me in so much trouble in so many ways, and wasted so much time, because instead of removing myself from an unsafe place to a safe place, I'm like, well, something's wrong with me. Like I need to fix myself so that this situation isn't toxic to me anymore, or like so that this isn't killing me or hurting me anymore. But yeah, I don't know if that was a ramble or if that made sense, but that felt really important to say. Just an acknowledgement of things that are awarenesses that are unfolding within myself. I'm just gonna read the comments here. Yeah, for sure, Alexis. Oh, gaslighting is, oh my God. So many things about that, Megan. Yeah, Quinn is helping here.
Yeah, if we can give like a quick example, it's like, you're like, oh, you took out the trash, and they're like, no, you didn't. And you're like, yeah, I literally just took out the trash. Or it's like, they flip the script, like, you're like, oh, I felt really hurt by this, and they're like, what do you mean? I'm the one who was hurt, you know? And so it kind of like takes away the focus from you and like honoring your feelings in that space, to making it about them and making you feel like you misremembered or you missed after something like that.
It's twisting things so that you deny your own reality, deny what will happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, it's so bad. That's such a big wound in me that you could tell me that, like, if all of you collectively were to say, like, Kelsey, you weren't on this call today, I would actually start to, like, rejig my mind to believe that I was not here. Like, that's such a deep one for me. I could actually be so fucked with right now. And it's scary because I will actually deny my own reality because somebody else had a different experience. Like, it's huge. And that big time attached to this toxic mentorship shit. Because that happened as I was growing up too. I lived in a really broken family and abusive household. And so, like I said, it's hitting the nerve and just like attached to so many roots of things. But yeah, so as to not take up too much time, and thank you so much for holding this space for me. It's been really sweet and powerful. The whole pulling it at the root and then packing the wound with this beautiful energy that integrates into my own energy. Oh my God, so helpful. And then just one last piece with this one mentor that I hadn't realized before is that she has powerful energy on her own, but I never realized, it's not that I never realized, but it's I often don't realize my own power and that sometimes people are intimidated by it. And the fact that that my energy and my power could intimidate this person, I just never would have thought of that. But that became very clear in this session too, that she would try to reshape it and like stifle it and keep it in whenever it tried to get expansive. She would just like bang it back down with something. So lots of insights in this one. When I thought I didn't have to say anything at all, I had a lot to say. So thank you.
You're welcome. And that's totally okay. Sometimes it starts coming out. So yeah, I think you touched on a couple of things that were very important for a lot of people. Okay, so Deborah explained the film. So basically this guy was slowly turning down the gas lights in the home while saying to his wife nothing had changed. And it's a form of psychological manipulation. Our brains too are also very easily manipulated. I don't know if anybody's heard the story of the kids in the classroom who went to the circus. Okay, so they went to like a circus or a fair, and they come back and the psychologist is like, hey, tell me what your experience, like how did it go, you know, like that kind of thing. And so the kids would like share their experiences, and at some point along the iteration, like it was multiple times that the psychologist would come back and be like, hey, you know, tell me about, you know, the event that happened, right? And at some point along the way, this clown was introduced. And so the psychologist was like, oh, hey, do you remember the clown? And at first they were like, no, like, I don't remember a clown. But eventually the clown got tied to the memory because they were recalled simultaneously. And so over time, the kids started to say, yeah, there was a clown. This is what the clown looked like. This is what the clown did. And it was truly a part of their memory, right? But it actually didn't happen in reality. But because the things were recalled together, they got filed back together, right? They were connected. So our minds are pretty easily manipulated in that way. And so when somebody over time says that, like, so the guy in the home turning down the gas lights, right? Like every time, like the memory is recalled of like, oh, like didn't the gas lights go down? Even though it sounds like this was kind of like a moment, like imagine like over time in their relationship, they're like, no, what was it? When did you turn down the gas lights last night? And they were like, no. Like it gets tied together. And so I think that's important to remember, like all of your memories around these relationships get tied to these things, right? And so every time that person comes up or these pieces of that comes up, it's also bringing up the gaslighting or the other things that it was tied to. And by doing some of the Reiki, and some of this is based in trauma focused CBT, TFCBT, you recall the memory, but you're changing the behaviors, and so it gets restored differently each time. And so over time, under the care of the therapist who has the training and, you know, all the things, it shifts the way that you respond to it. So, and apparently the Bernstein. See, I always thought it was the Bernstein. But this is one of those things where, like, over time, and even in our collective, we see this over time with how we tell stories about, like, the founding of the United States. I think it's one of them that, like, is heavy in the United States, but we see this over time with, like, oh, like, no, like, Native American people chose to rehome themselves, right? And it's like, no, like, the government forced them to do that kind of thing. So you see that being recalled in the collective memory and then changed over time too. But that doesn't mean, like, we can't, it's just a thing that happens. So we can use it to our benefit, like with TFCBT, or it can be used manipulatively in a negative way. So, but I think that kind of sound like what you guys are experiencing too a little bit. Makes sense. I think we're all, like, on the Bernstein bears and trying to figure out what happened to the bears right now. It's like seeing a lot of blank faces. No, don't apologize, Kelly. It is an interesting phenomenon, right? And it does kind of relate to, like, the way things change and they get recalled and they change. It may not be the exact same thing because one is an individual memory versus, like, a collective thought experience, but that is something that happens.
There's also, like, when you grow up in the unsafe house and you're taught that everything that you sense and experience isn't real, or it's like your childhood narcissism isn't justified by your parents, and that makes it hard to trust your intuition, because over time your intuition starts to believe that, like, unhealthy things or toxic things are what's safe, and that's what you, like, are energetically used to. Those are the habits that you are more used to experiencing. And so, like, when you shift out of that and you start to have to learn what feels safe, it's, like, scary, because the safe things are what you were taught was always unsafe.
I was just gonna say that, Kelly. Like, I have this buildup of nauseatingness, nauseousness within me because of all of this stuff is, like, hitting so many truths. And I was just gonna say that, like, I'm just realizing the root of my experience of this gaslighting is being abused from childhood for a big majority of my life from the people that I was supposed to trust the most, and being told that was not abuse at all, ever. Like, just, and then so I thought, this is not abuse, something's wrong with me, I'm oversensitive, I'm crazy, I'm reacting wrong. And, like, it is attaching to so many things throughout my life, and it's attached to so many of the blocks that I have too. So yeah, that's a really strong point. Thank you.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. Because my mom was, like, a hoarder, but she was very charming and nice to people. And so when I tried to, like, tell people about things that were going on at home, they just made it out to be, like, me being this dramatic, problematic child. And so nobody believed me growing up ever. And it was really difficult. But there's this book called, like, The Adult Children of Abusive Parents or something, but it's all about how having to reparent yourself after growing up with parents who basically just are always adult children. Like, they're not parents, they're not grown, and they're often narcissists or whatever. And it took me, like, 5 or 10 years to go all the way through that book. I don't even know if I finished it all the way, but it's been super, super helpful for me in terms of, like, relearning to trust myself and to, like, not absorb. Like, before I met Kristen and stuff, my whole identity was based on my childhood and my mom and all of that, and it's really taken human design and deconditioning to, like, unburden myself of all of those things. And It's just crazy how deep the roots go. But if you guys would like me to find that book, I can totally put it in the group.
I would love that. Yeah. If you, thank you.
Started Googling it. So is it Healing the Adult Children of Narcissists? The Children of Emotionally Immature Parents?
Healing. I'll look it up. I'll look it up and post it in a thing.
Yeah, 'cause it sounds like there's a few.
Yeah, there are.
There's like difficult mothers and adult daughters. There's a handful of them. So, yeah. So, and that goes to like also ignoring your intuition, right? And while I want to highlight the importance of rooting out bias, these things are also biases, right? That we've been given, that our intuition isn't true, or that the things we're experiencing aren't real, and things like that. And so as empaths, as intuitive people, as spiritual people, like having these experiences, it kind of builds all into that and into your work. So on a good note, you're doing the work of deprogramming, you're doing the work of uncovering those things, of releasing them, of all of that stuff. So you guys, like, I know it's heavy, but I want to remind you that you are doing really well. You are doing those things, you are taking care of them. Kelsey, was there anything else that you wanted to say there? Do you feel complete?
I think that was really important to actually like voice. I feel like not voicing these things is a big reason why my throat chakra has been so injured. And so this has been really incredible to be able to express that. I mean, these are like deep, dark secrets of mine, and nothing I would like, shameful things. So to be able to feel safe to express this with all of you is wonderful. And I appreciate and love all of you. Thank you.
We also appreciate you sharing and feeling safe in this space to do that, because you're not the only one, and you're not the only one who feels things, and in those ways. And so by giving voice to these things, it's not as much as like it is good for you and is beneficial for you. It's not just for you too. So, all right. And Megan said, witnessing you and appreciating you, Kelsey. Right. Who else wants to share? Yeah.
You can go.
Okay, we'll do Pam and then Megan.
Okay. So usually with these, I get a lot of visuals, but this time it was more knowing and feeling, I guess. And so part of what came up for what was being released in that wasn't like just this lifetime stuff. It was past lives, generationally, other timelines. So it's pretty extensive. And so that's also being cleared for everybody else too, whether you know it or not. And you don't have to know it. Just trust that. And what everybody's expressing is kind of lending to what I felt during the meditation too. So Kainite wanted to hang out, and it wanted to hang out at my heart space. And I had a pressure, and I've had it on and off for a few months, and I keep trying to like move it, like, but push it like through my root chakra, and it just kind of is like, no, it's not supposed to. It's supposed to come out and it needs to be expressed. I don't know what it needs to be expressed, but some of it I feel is in the group, because I've started to feel it, started to move, and through this call, I've been feeling it move up through my back and out the top of my head. And the other thing that I experienced, this eye, my left eye, just watered and watered and watered. I've never had a release like that before. Had lots of the yawns, like normal, but so yeah, it was interesting because I've never felt it quite like that before. So thank you.
You're welcome. And maybe we'll have to ask Anna later if she can tell us more about kyanite.
Yeah,
So
but I was thinking, and definitely the throat chakra bowl is the one that, even though I dropped into my heart space, it's where this energy we just wanted, and yeah, blue kyanite, that's going to be about expression too. And yeah, so.
Kristen always is like, it's the bridgestone.
Yeah, and it likes to hang out quite a bit, but it's usually, I wanted to be in the heart space.
Thank you for sharing. Did you have anything else you wanted to say or share?
Not yet. We'll see if something else comes out. I'll share in the group.
Yeah, that sounds good. Quinn said, cleansing stone, good for meditation particularly. She also feels like can help with self-expression and the throat chakra stuff. I probably need one apparently. Kelly posted the book, 2 books. So there's The Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, and then there's The Adult Children of Abusive Parents on Goodread. So she shared those in the group too for everybody. And I want to say, even if you haven't gone through these things personally, sometimes it's good just to read up because your clients matter. And so then you have some recommendations that you can give to them. And you can say like, hey, a little bit out of my depth, but I have some tools. I can pass them along to you. And I can, recommend that you work with whoever, right? So Megan was next. She still wants to go.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That was a really great experience. I'm still a little bit newer to Reiki. I've had like a couple virtual sessions and a couple just like really short sessions. So I've been enjoying this. And I was curious, mostly entered this with a lot of curiosity in terms of toxic mentorship. In terms of a theme, it just doesn't like ping me in a like, oh, I know that there's something really powerful that needs to be healed right now the way that other things do. So I was like, of course there's something in there, but it's more in my subconscious and I don't know what it is. So I was just like really curious what was gonna bubble up. And what I was really surprised by the different faces of people that showed up, and like some of them I never would have like thought of in the mentorship role because we were talking. So it was just really interesting, and one that really surprised me. And I know that this like happened in my childhood, but she was somebody that dated my dad, and she was very emotionally abusive to me. And like she came up, and I was like, whoa, like I can't believe that she's still there. I was like 12. And so it was interesting to see that bubble up, and it was interesting to see like an old soccer coach bubble up and all of these things, and just not realizing that they were still there. And then what was even more profound is when you asked us to call in on the people who you've had a good mentorship relationship with, and just like how many people came in and how many faces came in. And it felt so good. And I could just feel like that light and that love from all of those people. I could feel so much body sensation happening. And it felt like that just enabled so much healing. And I could like everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, I loved that person. And just like people I haven't thought about in so long. And it was really helpful for me to see, because I do have a history of victimizing myself. It was so nice to be like, wow, the people who have been like very supportive of me and who have been such incredible mentors and allies in my life, the amount of those faces that popped in versus the amount of people who popped in that weren't allies to me, it was like it far exceeded that. And so just seeing that in my energy body and like feeling that blast of love, it was very nice. Yeah, and I had interesting experience in my kind of like right shoulder blade area, where I often kind of have some habitual I've been working with this shoulder for many, many, many years now, but I can get some chronic pain there. And I definitely was noticing that as we were doing the clearing work that I was feeling sensation in that spot.
So sometimes it's related. I have a client and friend who like she always releases things through her right shoulder for whatever reason. That's just where like it just pops out. And so for her, that's why it bothers her. But it's interesting that for you it came up in relation to some of these other things.
Yeah, I don't know why it did exactly, but one of the interpretations that I've had is like, because it's on the right side of my body, which in the spiritual lineages that I'm a part of, we associate that more with more of like the patriarch or the masculine or the yang kind of energy. And then also because it's more muscularly, it's like the muscles in my rotator cuff, and I've like torn those climbing and like trying too hard climbing and stuff like that, and like writing papers, and it's always associated with me overdoing things and like extending myself too hard. And it's almost like I've noticed that I have a really hard time integrating those muscles in my heart space. And so my yoga teacher has helped me to see like the ways in which I don't allow myself to integrate the back of my heart, which is like the universal side of us. So like integrating the divine part of my heart to open up and not be armored and protected. And so I don't know, it's interesting that it showed up in relationship to talking about toxic mentors. Not really sure what the connection is.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like it makes me think that there's a connection of some sort, right? And so like, what is that connection is kind of like the next thought. And then it's like, have they been people who have pushed you too much? Is it in relation to pushing too much? Is it in relation to like not integrating that divine love that you kind of identified these pieces already? So it's like, how does it fit with one or both of these pieces in some way?
Yeah, I think some of the people who popped up that I can remember, because I don't remember everyone who popped up, but it was like this feeling that I wasn't enough and that I wasn't worthy of love. So I guess that would make sense if like I'm overcompensating by trying to do too much, because I don't feel like I'm worthy of receiving love. And so if I'm like, maybe if I'm releasing that, then that part of my heart space is like, no, you are worthy of receiving love, and you don't have to overcompensate, and you don't have to strive too hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that sounds amazing. Like that sounds like a connection. It sounds like a really cool way of like, when this comes up, to remind myself that, you know, I am enough and that I am worthy of love and that I don't have to overcompensate.
Yeah, that resonates for sure.
Alexis, the enough word came up on the call earlier this month, last week.
I think it's a programming word.
A programming word and maybe the connection. Okay. So maybe that's a pattern for all of us to keep in mind, is enough.
Yeah, that's definitely a word that comes up for me. Like, that's something I've been healing and integrating pretty deeply for the last few years now. And it just seems like I keep healing more and more and more layers of it. But I don't know what you mean exactly by programming word. If you could explain that.
Yeah, I can. So it's something that I'm kind of playing with it. It's not fully formed yet, but on the call, I guess, was it last week? It feels like it was longer ago than that. But anyway, 1 second.
You cooking stuff too?
Sorry, my oven was going off and there's fries.
Mine did too during the middle, so I had to have Kyle come out and take care of it.
I want to make sure. Okay. Yeah. So Quinn shared first, and she shared a lot about like that enough. It came up a couple times that I noticed it, and then a couple other people said it also. And so something that I've been playing with and that's been coming through is that there are, so programming in terms of like societal programming, that sort of part of that is to inhibit growth in a way. But the power of words, like how Shelby was talking about, like with our psyche and how our brains are so malleable to, I guess, suggestion in a way. And so words being used, just the simple word, who would notice a word, right? But the words that carry a charge, and that, does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So that's what I mean by a programming word. And so like it
carries an energy that results in a shift or an acquisition of the programming associated with the word. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's probably, yeah, that's as far as
So I'm trying to simplify it.
Does that answer the question, Megan? Does that make it?
Yeah, I feel like I don't completely intellectually know exactly what you're saying, but I feel like there's a part of me that's like, I know exactly what you're saying at the same time.
Yeah, so I say a lot of things like that. I would say in general, just like take what makes sense and leave the rest for when, like, it'll integrate whenever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. But
is there anything else you wanted to share? Or?
Yeah, no, I feel complete. Thank you.
I think we got through Alexis. We got through everybody with Alexis now. So you can't not.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yeah, I mean, you can avoid this if you don't want to. Like, there's the option of not sharing. But.
Oh, no, I don't mind. It was really good. So the ferret was running around and distracting me, so I had to get Adeline to come out and move the ferret, because she can climb on everything now. So yeah, anyway. But it was interesting because oftentimes I'm very visual and I can totally, like, I'm guided through something, and this was like very, I was almost falling asleep, so my mind was getting distracted, and then I would come back and like, ooh, even talking about it right now, I feel like very cosmic-y, swirly. Yeah, so all of us are going through a whole lot, but I'm definitely in that kind of boat of whatever the heck's happening over here. I really found it helpful when, like, I think somebody else mentioned it too, like when you suggested like what other space, not just the heart, but what space. And so there's an area in my back that is significant. And so I went there, and that was really interesting. But yeah, I definitely felt the disconnection of all the pieces. And then I think it was like the middle toward, are you okay? Okay. The middle towards the end, when everything was like finally releasing, that there was like these, I don't know, like little spores, or like, yeah, they were like little spores. Like they looked like little lights, but they were spores going back to where they came from. That makes sense? Anyway, it was cool. I just kind of hung out. I noticed, I'm like, I'm all over the place, but I was comfortable with it not being linear. So, but it was cool. I enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah, that can happen. So, yeah, so I mean, we definitely all have, well, it all unfolds exactly as we need it to unfold, or whatever we need to experience, or whatever is to be integrated to experience later. If you're like me, it's like 2 a.m. and you're like, oh, that thing. So that's a possibility. It sounds like enough is kind of a pattern here. So I think continuing to reaffirm that for all of us, that we are enough. We're inherently already enough, even before we maybe. Does everybody know their human design chart for the most part?
Kelly's so cute.
Affirmation. Okay. So is the will center the heart center, Pam?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So who else has heart center? This is Quinn, Pam, Kelsey's in. No, you're like no, it's not. Okay. Kelly has a defined heart. I think mine's open.
I know Kelly does because I get stuff done when I'm around her.
Yeah. That's why our coding calls work. So I guess that would be a pattern to note. But I guess in general, right? A lot of the messages we receive from society as non-cis men particularly is that we aren't enough. And so does everybody know what I said by cis? Do I need to explain that for anybody? Okay, just will check it. So we receive those messages.
I think someone said no. If you want.
Okay, I'll explain it, and then I guess if somebody needs it for the replay too, it's there. Cis is the shortened version of cisgender, which just means that you identify with the gender that you were assigned at birth. So I am cisgender. I was assigned female at birth, and I identify with that. It's kind of a term to help identify people who are maybe don't identify as trans. So it's just like another term to just get people to help understand themselves. So cis men tend to be men who were defined as male at birth, and I identify with that in life. So, and that's, yeah, capitalism says we're only enough or we're there for laboring or productive. That is true too. And so in a lot of ways, like we all get this programming, but then I think especially we get this programming if we don't fit into certain identity groups. And so whether or not you have a defined will or heart center, I want you to still know that you are enough, and to emphasize that you are inherently enough. So regardless of what you do, what your output is, regardless of your circumstances in life, you were already enough. You will always be enough, that kind of thing. So Kelly says to make sticky notes if you need support. And then for some of you that may not be something that is even a concern person, that's okay too. But since it was a pattern, here we'll address it quickly. Any other patterns that you guys noticed before we head out? No? Okay. If you think of any other patterns, you can post them in the group. And then I think it would be helpful to, if we just go around one more time and say one thing that we are going to do coming out of this, or one thing that we can focus on, because we did dig up a lot of deep stuff and a lot of painful stuff. And so I want us just to have something that is nourishing coming out of this too. So if whoever wants to start, share one nourishing thing that you're going to do after this or coming out of this.
I'll start. I'm going to drink a lot of water.
Good. Yay.
Yeah. So.
All right. So Deborah's drinking a lot of water. Who wants to go next? I know I see Pam. Oh,
Kelly's taking a nap.
Take a nap. All right, Megan, what are you doing?
I'm gonna eat lunch.
Yay! All right. Who wants to go next?
I think I'm gonna get some fresh air.
Oh, good. This is very important. All right. Who else? Okay.
I forgot that I'm not muted, so you can hear me go, me. I thought I was muted.
You unmute yourself and then say.
My brain. This is just, my brain got that all backwards. It's funny. It's exactly what Megan said. I was like, I need to eat. I haven't eaten anything yet. So I'm going to go eat some lunch. It's going to be a healthy lunch.
Yes. Okay. Who else is going to? All right. We've got Alexis and Kelsey left. So, okay, Kelsey.
I'm gonna finish eating to ground myself, and then I'm like drained, so I'm gonna try to take a nap.
Yay! Good. Right. All right, Alexis. Oh, you're not unmuted. Let me unmute you. Whoa, it wouldn't let me unmute you. Okay.
I think I am now, right?
Yeah, I think you're now too.
I'm gonna have some lunch also, and then I'm gonna lay on my mat.
Yay! Good. Actually, can you, or maybe I could, share the link of your mat into the group just so everybody knows what you're talking about and is another resource?
I will.
Okay.
It's a gemstone mat. I love it. There's a couple different options, but
yeah. As an idea, I think for people.
They heat up and they have gemstones, and it's like heaven. It's amazing.
Okay, so everybody has one thing they're going to go do to nourish themselves. Some of you guys have 2. So, and then you can take things out of everybody else's playbook. So, like, it's probably a good thing for everybody to drink water, as Deborah's doing. So, all right. Yay. And I'm also going to eat and probably take a nap. So, I think that's good. I'm not going to drink as much caffeine as I drink yesterday. All right. All right, everybody feeling good? Okay, good. Then I will get this I'll get the replay up in the group today. And as long as nobody has any objections to putting the chat in the group, would anybody prefer? And it's totally okay. You don't have to say why. Yeah, okay. Okay. Looks like we're getting, all right. So I'll put that in so that way you guys have the insights too. And I will see you